Welcome to the Future of Real Estate, your chance to find out what's going on in real estate and the real estate market. This morning's show is brought to you by the Ellis Team at RE/MAX Realty Group. RE/MAX is award winner for most transactions in Florida.
With the Ellis Team at RE/MAX, it's a family affair. Always call the Ellis Team, they'll handle you with care.
Welcome back to the Future of Real Estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis Team at RE/MAX. With us today, special guest, Lee County Sheriff Mike Scott. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, happy to be here, Brett.
You know, in the first segment, we were talking about traffic stops and immigration type issues, working with ICE, and I'm glad that Lee County has that relationship with ICE and whatnot. You know, it kind of got me to thinking, though. You know, we talked about terrorism. We talked about just knowing who we're dealing with. And the full expectation, if we're in another country, you can sure bet they're going to find out who we are and provide all these documents. And I don't understand why in America it's politically charged to we've got to be so politically correct we can't even ask who someone is. I mean, that should just be a no-brainer. You go to Iran, I bet you they're going to know who you are, and they might keep you there for a while.
Absolutely.
But you've heard all this violence over in Mexico, right across the border, some of these towns, and some, you know, there's even the State Department's put out alerts about if you travel there, do so at your own peril because you've got drug lords just going around shooting people, even capturing Americans. But we sure don't want that bleeding over into Texas, New Mexico, some of our border states. We need to secure that border that's just another reason.
Absolutely. In fact, should have been done long ago through several presidents, partisan politics aside. This should have been done many, many years ago. Had it been, we wouldn't have the millions here now. But that said, for those that might continue to want to come into the country, very, very violent nature. Of course, Mexico, a source country, one of the primary source countries for drugs. With drugs comes money. With money comes greed, guns, violence. And we see that time and time again. The murder rate along the border is scary, and gun trafficking, human trafficking, whether people are being brought in and here. Drugs. And drugs, exactly. Oh, clearly. Arms, drugs, and human beings to come in for a labor, to come in for a sex trade, to come in for a variety of different reasons. And this is of concern, continues to be of concern. I applaud you and anybody else that wants to try to raise the public awareness. I think that our community, by and large, is aware of this. I really do. And I think they're tired of it. But we can't go out there and build the wall. We have to rely on our federal government.
And I think most citizens want immigration. They just want legal immigration. We want to know who's coming in what amounts, and document it. So let's say we have a policy of 10 million people per year come into the United States. That's your cap, 10 million people a year, and we know that they are documented, that they're legal, they're not murderers from where they came from and whatnot. And that's all well and good, but we don't need 20 million. Or we don't need 10 million murderers. And
I'm with you 100%.
So
it's of concern. Clearly, there are those who come into the country, who came and or now come into the country looking for work. That's really all they're looking for. They're looking for,
we actually need that.
Yeah, but there are those that are coming in with ill intent, and we do have the extremists, the terrorists, of course, to consider, and of course. They're not all traditional, what people would think traditional Middle Eastern. It could be recruitment from Mexican cartels. Anyone that's willing, that has a price, and money is a motivator. And so it's alarming. And we continue to fight that here in Florida. Many end up in Florida, as you know. And it's just,
I hold these signs up on the street. You probably see me. I will sell real estate for food.
It's for food.
So
okay.
Money is a motivator.
Exactly.
But I want to turn on to the budget because that's a hot topic.
It is.
And it's a kind of a sad topic because it's just, real estate prices have gone down and assessed values have gone down and the tax base has gone down. Mm-hmm. So it's just the state of the economy. It is what it is. But, I saw a headline in the newspaper the other day that said, Sheriff's Office may have to cut another 3% on top of last year, and that may not be the right number, but they said 3%. And if we don't do something with our budget, 1 out of every 3 sheriff's deputies might have to be laid off. I don't know that. I mean, I'm sure you won't ever jeopardize public safety, but describe for us the state of budget and what you're dealing with.
Well, and it's appropriate that we would have this conversation because our budget is solely based, as is the county's budget, the general fund, on the tax base. And it's no secret that property values have declined, and in doing so, the tax dollars go away. That's what we're funded on. Now, of course, we don't want to compromise public safety. Never mind, as your sheriff sitting here, I'm a father, I'm a third-generation resident of Lee County. I want to preserve, for a variety of reasons, the quality of life that we have. And now more than ever, of course, there's no time to jeopardize that. If we truly want to recover, we want this will always be a destination point. Look at the weather that we enjoy here. The beaches, the emerald green water will always be a destination point, but we've got to keep it safe and secure, so we don't want to compromise that. But the budget is trying. Now, fortunately, we've been able to, in some ways, one, for example, is no pay raises to the membership. We have 1,600 people that work at the sheriff's office. Let's say you did a 2 or 3% cost of living type scenario. Well, that's a big dollar. So by foregoing pay raises for the last 3 years, fortunately, our inmate jail population is trending down just a little bit. We were up around 3,000. We're down more now, 2,000 per day, average daily population. Some of those things have helped us to sort of keep the budget in check, and we are coming in lower this year than last. I think we'll be okay. We should have that resolved in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and I know the county is dealing with, they've got to take the sheriff's budget, they've got to take education, they've got to take roads, they've got to take. It's just a monumental task to overtake that, and funding is just flat out down. So
sure it is.
Anything else in the budgeting process that you're seeing?
Well, the other thing to note is that the sheriff's budget. The reason I think it's typically maybe a little more controversial, a little more commonly spoken about, is because as a percentage, it is a large percentage. But people have, versus, let's say, like you said, parks and rec or libraries, roads, things like that, we're 24/7. 24/7 running the jail and doing these other things. So
I got a problem. I want somebody to answer the phone at 911 and come out now.
Yeah, that's the bad news. The bad news is that we're a big chunk of the pie, if you think of it as a pie. The good news is that as compared with any other unit of government, city, Cape Coral, city, Fort Myers, Collier County, Charlotte, anywhere you want to look, county or city, our proportion of the budget is consistent and or lower. It's at or lower than anyone else's. So our sheriff's office budget here is not out of whack, so to speak, with the norm, but like other jurisdictions, it is a high percentage because it's 24/7, it's jails, it's dogs, it's helicopters. We're not revenue producing. Your tax collector, of course, generates revenue through sales, the tags and things of that nature, renewals, registrations. We don't. It costs us as taxpayers money to be on the water patrolling. It costs us money to arrest. We don't get ticket proceeds. Some people think, well, you write those tickets and that's not the case. We don't get that money. That money is diverted elsewhere. So we don't produce revenue. It costs money to operate our business. And that's the biggest distinction.
I saw on TV the other day that Collier County had to go down to one patrol person on the water. You've got to defend our shores plus the roads and everything that you do. How has the budget affected your water operation, let's say?
Well, we're coastal. Now, the good news here is that we have something called WESIND. It's the West Coast Inland Navigation System. And basically what that means is because of the West Indian manatee and the hard federal regulations that are on protection for that species, we get federal funding and grant money for our marine efforts. So while we're out there doing safety checks for personal flotation devices, watching for the reckless wave runner or whatever the case may be, impaired boating, etc., we're also, of course, working hard in those manatee zones. And as a result of that, federal funding is derived. So a lot of our Marine unit, through Homeland Security and through this manatee protection buffers, if you will, helps offset our marine effort.
Absolutely. Great. Well, you've been watching The Future of Real Estate presented by the Ellis Team at RE/MAX. We've been chatting today with Mike Scott. And any final thoughts?
Just happy to be here, and we want to keep on keeping on in trying times. We're all facing trying conditions, but the Sheriff's Office is excited, optimistic, and proud to serve this community.
Super. Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and we really appreciate what you do for the community and for being here and sharing with us what you do. So you've been watching The Future of Real Estate. Stay tuned next week, and we'll be back.